Operation Rescue Kazami Yuji is almost a go? Because it's drawn near as the fated hour of 8 oh my god, 8 p.m. That'd be way too late. We would have, it'd be over. 8 a.m. drew near. The public reading of Makina's traditional death poem concluded. And Sachi proceeded to push Yumiko up onto the wooden box that served as their platform. Oh my god.
Mic test, mic test.
Alright.
それでは間もなく作戦開始時間となりますが、各員出陣の前に基地司令たる榊参謀司令長官のありがたいお言葉を賜りたく存じます。
God, General Sakaki, I like it. She gonna say something inspirational or?
ではどうぞ。
いや、急にそんなことを言われても。
Why are you thrusting me in this position?
聞くだけでみるみる繊維が高揚する魔法のお言葉をお願いします。
She has to come with that up with that right on the fucking spot. Poor Yumiko. Yeah? Yumiko was tempted to explain that magic of that sort was generally referred to as brainwashing. Don't kill the mood. But as she looked around at her comrades, she realized that this might be her final chance to express her gratitude to them. As that thought began to sink in, she could feel her hand growing sweaty in the handle of the megaphone Sachi had given her. Dude, it's the fucking... It's the stress worry stress. Oh!
ただいまご紹介に預かりました榊由美子です。
As you all know, duh. She looks beautiful.
ここにお集まりの皆様は容易ならざる困難に対し座して待つことを良しとしなかった方たちです。そのことに関して皆様には感謝の言葉もございません。果たして私たちの進む先に巧妙があるとも断じきれない中、己が可能性を信じて立ち上がった皆さんの勇気に微力なれども良い結果を残したいと私は考えております。はっきりと申しましょう。私たちの進む道は戦場につながっています。
Yeah, it did.
賛美を極め多くの困難が待ち受けるであろう戦場でこの私に一体何ができるのかと、そんな風に応納しない日はありませんでした。ことここに至り、私は一人の指揮官として各員の熱意をあたら無駄に散らせることなく、自分たちの行いに大義を見出さんとするよう努力する所存であります。
I believe.
やがては完遂されるであろう大義に燃える皆さんに少しでも明るい道先を示すのが私の仕事であり、人生を圧し犠牲を顧みぬ戦場へ皆さんを送り込んだ私の責務であります。
It's like as this scene unfolds, I would follow you to the ends of the earth.
どうか今一度志をともに私にお力をお貸しください。
I'm already there with you, the guru support. Drawing her remarks to a conclusion, Yumiko bowed her head to her audience. It had started sounding a bit like an election speech by the end there, but as off-the-cuff performances went, she wanted to believe she'd done a fairly good job. I thought it was alright.
ねえ、なんか難しい言葉ばっかりでよくわかんなかったんだけど、結局何が言いたいの？
Michiru, everything just whooshes right over your head. You don't get nothing.
要はこれからますますひどいことになるし、下手すりゃ死んじまうかもしれないけど、ここに集まったからにはおめえらの自己責任だから、作戦や指揮に問題があっても文句言うなよってこと。ちょっと違う。
That's not it at all.
どの国の軍にあっても召喚の口にする訓示とはそういうものです。
That's not what I feel like that's not what she was shooting for.
まあ、身内に明確な矛先があった方が組織は動かしやすいって言うしね。
And you know what?
わかったわよ。 そうやって私をいじめておけばいいじゃない。
No matter how small your organization might be, you always needed someone for everyone else to resent. She'd figured that much out by now. Eventually, the clock struck 8, and the time for fun and games had officially come to a close. Oh god. After exchanging a ceremonial drink of water, the Mahama Women's Corps departed for their various posts.
みんな、最後のお弁当を詰めたから、一人一つずつ持ってって。
いや、弁当最高。おかずは何？
Did the final meal fucking that they ever could possibly eat is on Amane lunch. I'd be okay with that.
マキナのリクエスト通り、海苔巻きとサイダーだよ。
Well, what'd you...
なんか組み合わせおかしくない？なんで海苔巻きとサイダーなの？
I choose not to question.
海軍の航空糧食といえば海苔巻きとサイダーなのよ。
Fucking course it is. Many years ago, fighter pilots apparently ate norimaki for most of their in-flight meals, since the compact rolls were easy to hold with a single gloved hand. Also, battleships typically had quite a few carbon dioxide fire extinguishers lying around, so a simple cider easily made from sugar and CO2 was a popular beverage among Navy personnel. World War II era planes lacked sophisticated radar equipment, much less GPS systems. Navigating on long flights was a tiresome task, and mid-flight meals played a crucial role in keeping the pilots energized and focused on their mission. Perhaps Machina felt some kind of connection to these historical events, as she tends to. Perhaps she'd had just a hankering for sushi. Either way, everyone took their lunches and headed for their posts. Some had more to lose than others. Some were anxious, while others were excited. But as they left their base behind, they held the same lunches to their chest, and the same determination in their hearts. Damn. I'm staying behind. As the guru, I need to help Yumiko with commanding. Could you imagine? You're like just going off what someone thinks is gonna happen. I mean, that happens all the time, right? The Ritz-Marlton Hotel, Tokyo. Wee-woo? It just so happened that Machina had stayed at one of these hotels before, although it hadn't been this particular one. Back when her father was still alive, rest in peace, her family had usually spent their summers on the beaches of Miami. And during those trips, they'd always stayed at the local Ritz-Marlton. From what she remembered, it had been notable for its unnervingly well-trained employees, whose remarkable attention to detail meant that all the little things you take for granted were always handled perfectly. Bringing her bicycle to a halt outside, Machina detached the trailer and towed it into the lobby. Approaching the front desk, she reached on inside herself to call forth a talent passed down through the Irisu for generations. Namely, the ability to profoundly irritate people for really no good reason at all. With a condescending, blatantly insincere smile of that sort that had become an Irisu trademark, she called out to the man behind the gleaming counter.
Yeah. ごきげんよう。
I'd be like, what is this?
スイーツを予約したイリスだが、部屋の用意はできているかね？
Sweet! The receptionist found himself faced with a little girl whose round face somewhat resembled that of a cartoon chipmunk. Hey. Don't be giving them our fucking codename secrets. She wasn't wearing or carrying anything that looked particularly expensive. In fact, her outfit looked like something you could buy from a cheap boutique of some kind, typically found in large malls. Hey, okay, don't judge. Maybe she got it at the Walmart. In this particular hotel lobby, she stood out like a sore thumb. Everyone's like fancy as fuck, and she just comes in with her plaid shirt and a little tie and is like, hey. Oh, perp, when you combined all that with the fact that she'd barged up to the desk and demanded her room in an exceptionally haughty tone, well, 8 out of 10 people would have reacted the same way the receptionist did.
どなたか保護者の方は
No, one is sadly passed away and the other's a bitch.
あ？私を誰だと思っている？イリス・キヨカだぞ。こう見えても今年で38だぞ。
God damn it.
それとも何か？ガキみたいなやつは客じゃないとでも言うつもりか？おいおいおいおい、嘘だろ。天下のウィッツがまさかの人種差別か。
Good. Throw up a fuss. That'll fix everything. It's true though, it will.
だったらあそこのジグロの男はなぜ部屋の鍵を受け取っている？私はあいつ以下ってことか。
Oh my god, Machina, why?
なんだお前、アパルトヘイト反対主義者か。だったら子供っぽいってだけで差別すんじゃねえよ、このダブスタ野郎が。
I swear to God, how can I be the only one that likes Machina? This is bullshit. She's perfect. What the hell's this woman going on about? In a lobby where important people from many countries came and went, Machina was shouting accusations with all the vigor of someone trying to provoke an international incident. Understandably, the man's face went deathly pale. Dude, just roll with it. Just be like, okay, I'm sorry. Here's your room. Go, have a nice day.
申し訳ございませんお客様どうかお気を鎮めてください
I didn't hear. Here's your room.
なんだと？このイリスキヨカに大声を出させてるのは誰だ？
King Machina.
私でございます申し訳ありません
すぐに謝るぐらいなら最初から喧嘩を売るな。
Scowling furiously, Machina shoved her hand into her pocket and retrieved several neatly banded bundles of brand new banknotes, which she proceeded to slap down rudely on the counter in front of her.
ほれ、支払いは現金だ。多めに払ってやるから余った金でマナースクールにでも通えクズが。仕事をしろ、クビにするぞ。なめんな、清かなめんな、このビッチグソ野郎が。
I love how she's just making her mom look even worse. Her mom's a shithead. She's, can I speak to your manager kind of shit going on. And I love it. She could pass off as her too. Kinda. I mean, you had literally look the same, except Machina's smaller. The ranks of the wealthy include quite a number of extremely short-tempered individuals. Yes. Having learned as much from painful experience, the receptionist immediately thought of the little card he always carried with him, which described the proper mindset of a customer service professional. Think of yourself as an herbivore and your customers as hungry carnivores. As long as you keep that up, you'll never lose your temper with them. He'd been working this job for 3 years. He knew how to heave quiet little sighs without his customer noticing. God damn it. With a few taps, he's just so like... With a few taps on the keyboard inside the front desk, he pulled up the reservation list. And surely enough, there was a luxury suite reserved in the name of Irisu Kyoka. And a red light indicated that she was a VIP client. How dare...
イリス様大変お待たせいたしましたただいまお部屋へご案内させていただきます
Oh, that sounds a lot better.
清か苦しゅうないぞよ。
Acceptable. The man very nearly snorted out with laughter at this attempt at pronouncing the word acceptable. But he managed to disguise his amusement by quickly turning away to call for a porter. Every time Machina like messes or like, pronounces things wrong, I'm just like, that's like me. I say things wrong all the time. And I would probably pat her head. Hoping to quickly escort this foul-mouthed young princess out of the lobby, the porter hurried over and reached for her luggage.
おい、勝手に触るな。それは仕事道具だ。
What the fuck you want from me? There was honestly no telling what was going to set this woman off. Everything. Everyone on the staff had been trained to treat the most troublesome customers with very particular care. But right now, they just wanted to get her into her damn room and out of their hair. Dude, that's retail in a nutshell. Granted, this isn't retail, but it still applies. Would you consider hotel workers as retail? No, that'd be like, the hell would that be? What's the term? You know what? Whatever. After an agonizing 10 minutes with Irisu Kyoka, quote, spent repeating her own name, I don't need you to describe the room. Don't show me the emergency exits. I am Irisu Kyoka. They finally succeeded in showing her to her room. Damn, I like it. I don't like the view because it's fucking scary and I hate heights, but whatever. When you don't want someone asking you lots of questions, make a nuisance out of yourself until they leave you alone. Yup. That was something Machina's mother had told her when she was very young. Machina despised her mother intensely, as most everyone watching this also does. But when it came to manipulating other people, she had to admit her advice had some merit. Dude, she's good at it. That's the thing. That's what she's good at. Her mom, Machina's good at it now too, so. After striding into her suite, she immediately kicked out the clerk who was attempting to describe it to her, and then began consuming the small basket of fruit they left on top of the table as a welcoming gift. That's the first thing she does is fucking start snacking. It wasn't as if she was particularly hungry. The room's central table had plenty of surface area, and it was solid enough to support a person's weight. She intended to bring it over to the window and use it as a sniping platform, so she needed to clear it off first. So you kind of just moved them. You didn't have to eat the fruit. And when she'd reached out to remove the objects on top of it, however, her hands had reflexively brought the fruit to her mouth. Her cheeks bulging with tart strawberries, Machina grabbed hold of the table, which was probably nearly as heavy as she was, which really isn't all that heavy because Machina's like 2 feet tall or something, and dragged it to the window. Placing her rifle case on top of it, she retrieved her laptop from her bag. The program Shimohei What? Sean, which calculated the optimal trajectory to a target based on measurements received from satellites, had been updated to version 6.04, which enabled it to directly connect to the Thanatos system. Yes! The distance to Machina's target would be about 900 meters. Her instructor, the legendary sniper Kazami Yuji, occupation student, could probably have landed a shot like this while vigorously jacking off. I'm sure he could. Could you imagine? However, Machina had never fired a real rifle before, much less experienced actual combat. For her, a long-range shot like this was an unprecedented challenge. You're baby 9029, it's fine, you can do this. Snapping open the fasteners on her case, she spread it out flat on the table and began removing parts of her rifle from their Velcro restraints. First, she connected the lower receiver to the bipod assembly, allowing it to stand on its own. Next, she placed the semi-auto unit, containing both the bolt and carrier mechanisms, onto the mounting rail. and covered it up with the upper receiver, which she fixed in place with the mid-lock pin. All very simple. She didn't know how much face she could put in a gun some old man from a racket shop had put together. Some old man, huh? But once it was fully assembled, she didn't notice any nasty rattling, and the trigger felt tight against her finger. When she pulled on the cocking handle to test out the action, the spring and the impact bumper made a grinding sound that suggested it was a bit on the cheap side, but the level of resistance itself felt pretty much perfect.
しかしこの色だけはどうにかならなかったのかね。
Well, you shouldn't have complained about your damn phone. Kazuki took that seriously. Makina did like the color pink, and many of her personal possessions were some sort of shade of it. Still, when it came to weapons, wasn't a flashy, high visibility design basically a handicap? You know what? Now you gotta live with it. Kazami Yuji might have claimed, "You're better off with a rifle that looks like a toy, since intimidating weapons make it harder to relax and pull the trigger gently." But this really did look like a gun made for a moron. And again, you might make the case that Makina was, in fact, a moron. She couldn't have denied it with any real confidence.
こんなんでちゃんとやれんのかな。
Makina, shh, let the spirit of the guru guide you. You will make this shot, I'm sure. You have a couple bullets, you'll be fine. I have a couple tries. I remember this. And then Yuchi went out and started yelling at Yumiko for just walking around out there when she didn't even know shit was happening. Inexperience gives rise to uncertainty. From what Yuji had taught her, the maximum range at which you could rely on your rifle's power and your ammunition's sophistication was 2,000 meters. Beyond that, your experience level and dumb luck inevitably played a large role. Fortunately, she'd be firing at well below 2,000 meters. And she had top-notch equipment to compensate for her flaws as a sniper. But she wasn't naive enough to assume that meant everything would go smoothly. When it came to a precision sniping at long range, your instincts and training were naturally very important. But you also needed to know exactly how to use the specific gear you're given. The slightest misalignment of a high magnification scope would throw your shots off course. A simple spike in the temperature could cause a divergence of anywhere from a few centimeters to several meters. It's all over. Apart from the wind, you had to be aware of atmospheric pressure, dust particles in the air, the rotation of your bullet, and the exact bearing it would follow. Even the combustion speed of the powder needed to be accounted for. You know what? I don't want to be a sniper. It's too much. They make it look so easy in video games. And no matter how thoroughly you inputted all this information, it was still rare for your bullets to land exactly where you anticipated. At a distance of 1,000 meters, you'd typically be off by a few meters at first. Dude.
それを経験と勘で補うのがプロの仕事。
You could straight see that gun. You just look up in the hotel and just see the pink just shining. Isn't like when it comes to sniping in the video games, right? Like it's so silly, it's so dumbed down because there's, for the most part, there's no bullet drop, there's no nothing. It's just boom, bing, bang, boom. You got your shot no matter how far away. It's really stupid. Real life, it's a whole bunch of bullshit that you gotta account for. You know, it's just. But Makino wasn't a pro, and according to Kazami Yuji, that meant she had to rely on the power of her equipment. And this was made by actual original 9029, so we're fine. Settling her rifle on the table, she placed an optical scope equipped with an internal electronic dampener, or a damper, same thing, in position on top of it, and attached it via mount ring to the rail system, carefully adjusting the level of torque. What if like, they just kind of, the worker came in, be like, hold on, I had to do something real quick in here, and then just see this scene. Once it was fixed in place, she used the custom jig the old geezer from the racket store had given her to verify that she'd attached it at the correct angle and position. This would guarantee it performed just as he'd intended.
用意された弾丸は6発
Yeah, couple bullets, you're fine. It was tempting to complain about how stingy Thanatos had been, but that wouldn't have been remotely fair. Every one of these cartridges was essentially handmade. Both the rapid combustion power and the hard primer inside them had been specifically formulated based on the anticipated range. The bullets themselves had been polished, then blasted with fine tungsten disulfidified particles, forming a special coating that would be fused to the surface of the projectile by the heat generated when they were fired. The old man had even cut subtle grooves into them that aligned with the rifling of the barrel. These would generate propulsive power from the very air the bullets cut through. Every one of these rounds was a tiny work of art. It's a shame that we're gonna shoot them. The written instructions the old man had handed her strongly emphasized that she wasn't to touch the bullets with her bare hands. They'd been individually packed in plastic bags filled with inert gas.
鉄砲屋もいろんなことを考えつくもんなのよさ
Sometimes.
これで当たんなかったら私がヘボってことになっちゃうか
The fucking spirit of Yuji shows up. He's not dead, but he just shows up. He's like, I believe in you. You can do it. I taught you everything. Well, not really everything I know, just most things. Rather than brooding over her chances, she would rather have fired off a few shots and get a feel for the gun. Nope. But that obviously wasn't an option. She had to wait until the rifle, what the fuck? Had to wait until the last possible moment to actually test fire and zero her rifle. With the weapon now fully assembled, she fixed it in a position on the bipod. She'd left the bullets sealed away in their airtight packages. She wasn't planning on loading them into the magazine anyway. Why risk contact between the rim of the chamber and the tip of the rounds? This thing wasn't a real semi-automatic. Might as well load every round manually.
さてんじゃちょっくら出かけてくっかね
She just leaves, shouting at everyone on the way. For now, she wanted to focus on the tasks at hand. All that was left was an inspection of the target area, and then the installation of her monitoring equipment. Opening up her backpack, she packed in a few wind gauges, which would beam their data to her via satellite, then added an old-fashioned analog tool, a roll of plastic packaging rope. There were two potential lines of fire, and it wasn't practical to cover both with nothing but digital devices. She decided to work around that by leaving lengths of rope tied up at the halfway points between her gauges. That way, she could at least look through her scope to get a visual sense of the way the wind was moving. Dude, this is intense, and this is just the Machina part. Once this was done, she'd spend the afternoon riding her bike around. Moving through an area gives you a very different feel for it than peering at it through a scope. Well, because then you know where everything is. And that difference can seriously affect your accuracy. Machina had learned that much while simulating ultra-long range precision sniping with her air rifle under the instruction of Kazami Yuji, occupation student, Mark II. When you wanted to hit a target no bigger than a speck, even when you observed through a high magnification lens, this sort of simple, scrupulous preparation was the single most crucial factor in ensuring your success. Alright. Oh, where am I going now? Are we, oh, no, it's just... Back in the day, motor vehicles came equipped with a warning system that would play a sound when the driver exceeded a set speed. Did it? Set up. What? Sometimes this would be a tiny electronic beep or a rhythmical chime. A few even tinkled cheerfully at you, like the bell carried by a Buddhist pilgrim. Those alarms were mostly a thing of the past. The car Amine was presently driving, however, had an organic warning system, one that produced rather less pleasant sounds. Uh-oh. Is she even like driving? Doesn't look like she's driving crazily right now. Its name, the Matsushima Speed Alarm System. What, you can't handle just going normal speed? But it's Amine, so it's probably not normal speed anyway. This was a highly sensitive system indeed. Say the car in front of you turned at an intersection, simply pushing down on the accelerator to close the open space on the road would be enough to trigger the alarm. No matter if you were merely keeping pace with traffic, you'd still be treated by a chorus of the only way to avoid this was to avoid any sudden movements at all. It was, to be honest, a real pain in the ass.
まあね。一度でも人の運転する車でひどい目に遭うとそうなるのはわかるし、その原因を作ったのは私なんだけどさ。この車なら荷台から落ちることもないんだし、こうして普通に運転しててもケポケポしちゃうのはどうにかならないかな。
I think Michiru's being a little dramatic.
無理。なんかこう頭で分かってても体が逃げ出そうとするのよ。
Granted, she is in fact traumatized, and getting in the car with Amine is like setting off wee-woo danger alarms in her brain, so...
つうかさ、あの荷台から落ちた時だって他の荷物は落ちなかったのに、なんであんただけ落ちたの？
It's that old Michiru luck.
わかんない。荷台の上に立ってたからかも。前を見てたらふっと気が抜けたっていうか。
Luckily, whatever happens to Michiru, she will literally never die, so it's fine. She's quite literally immortal.
ああ、なんかわかる気がする。
Oh, that's why she's Sachi's backup. God damn. She probably gotten drunk on the speed. It doesn't really happen when you're inside a car, but if you spend too long tearing down the highway, I almost said the hallway. Tearing down the hallway! The highway on a motorcycle or something, it can do funny things to your brain. I don't need funny things happening to my brain. My brain's already fucked up as it is. When you move at high speed for an extended period of time, the road ahead starts to grow strangely vivid, and it almost feels like the world around you is frozen in place. It might sound rather ridiculous, but Amine had personally experienced the powerful urge to step off her fast-moving motorcycle onto the road.
なんだろう、子供が回ってる扇風機に指を突っ込みたくなるような感覚？そういうの何現象っていうのかな？
I never did that because that's fucking stupid.
知らないわよ。とにかく安全運転でお願い。
I have this sense for knowing when pain is about to hit me before it even hits me, or what things can in fact cause pain, and I don't want pain, so I don't do those things. The best way to prevent car sickness is usually to look in the same direction as the driver, allowing your body to anticipate the movements of the car. But in Michiru's case, it just didn't seem to be doing much good whatsoever, because she's not, like, focusing on that. Amine didn't have much of a choice but to move along slowly and carefully, trying to minimize any kind of shaking motion. Delicately manipulating the brake and throttle, she tried to keep the car's weight evenly distributed across all four of its tires, pretending that she was winding her way up an icy mountain road covered in salt. The drive took a bit longer than it otherwise would have, but eventually, Higashi Nagasaki Station came into view, Brain. That was where she'd be dropping off
も
Michiru.
うすぐ着くよ。っていうか、あんた一人で大丈夫なの？
Once I'm out of this car, I'll be fine.
何が？
何がって、あんたこれからユージの会社の人に会ってユージの荷物を受け取ってくるんだよ。よく知りもしない相手だし、一人で怖くないの？
Dude, I'm excited. I'm excited for that.
まあ全く不安がないわけじゃないけど、よく知らない人と取引するのにはもういい加減慣れたわよ。少なくとも日本語は通じる相手だろうし。
At least I can talk to him.
あんたってさ、なんかそういうとこすごいよね。この前の牛連れたおばちゃんとかさ、知らない人に平気で声かけるし。
私はね、嫌われる前に嫌われるようなツンデレはしないのよ。常に相手より先に嫌うには先制攻撃よ。わかる？
I gotta get in there and hate them before they hate me. That's the best line I've heard today. God damn it.
全然わかんないけど、なんだか強気だなとは思う。
I love it though.
つまりそういうことよ。
It's fucking funny.
ごめん、本気でわかんない。あんたってさ、自分の頭の中で出た結論を人に伝えるの本当にへったくそだよね。
She has literally like a two-digit, like single-digit IQ. Leave her alone.
うっしゃいわね。だからうまくいくんだってタナトスさんは言ってたんだからね。
Honestly, I'm just glad we have a use for her.
まあ、わかるけどさ。
I'm just, you know, taken to a certain extreme, stupidity can become charming in the way you'd find a dim-witted pet adorable. Of course, the whole idea of pets was a uniquely human concept, wasn't it? I think about that all the time. It's just weird how we just have animals in our house and we just keep them. I like it, but you know, it's just weird. Perhaps there was something in the genes handed down from the days when our ancestors lived in trees that quietly compelled us to protect creatures like Matsushima Michiru. Dude, she doesn't even need protection. Like I said, she's immortal. Pondering these matters quietly, Hamine watched as her friend climbed out of the car, bid her a cheerful goodbye, and waddled off bow-legged down the street.
さて、それじゃあ私も車受け取りに行ってくるか。
Excited for that too. And now we drive. without a Michiru. Retrieving the map she'd made for herself last night, Hamine tossed it onto the passenger seat Michiru had been occupying, then glanced over at it. Her new vehicle was waiting in the parking garage of a shopping center in Itabashi. She knew the place. It had a large, popular movie theater inside. In the period just after the disaster, when every moment she spent in school had been pure torture, she'd once skipped a day and watched a movie there. Dude, I'd be skipping fucking days left and right, because fuck those people. Fortunately enough, she was already quite tall by then, so she didn't really look like a truant student in her everyday clothes. What was the movie I saw again? The title wasn't coming to mind. She seemed to remember it was a Western film, starring some famous actor in the role of a street racer. Oh boy. At first, she hadn't even been planning to see a movie. She'd just gotten on a train, then let it carry her along. And after a bit of aimless wandering, she just happened to find herself in front of a theater. There wasn't anything she'd wanted to see, but after heading inside to kill some time, she found herself buying a ticket for a car movie anyway. Somehow or other, automobiles always seem to find their way into her life. I wonder what this new car is gonna be like. I'm excited. I'm feeling the rustles of my jimmies. After they rescued Yuji, it would need to carry him, Amine, Michiru, Makina, and Sachi. So at the very least, they needed space for 5 people. obviously that meant it wouldn't be a two-seater sports car. From what Thanatos had said, they were dealing with armed soldiers, and there was a possibility they'd come under attack, so maybe it would be a thick, sturdy vehicle. Then again, she'd also described it as lightweight, so a clunky hunk of armor on wheels didn't seem particularly likely, as long as we're fast. Thanatos claimed to have taken her preference into account, quote, 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 but what does that even mean? In any case, once Amine switched over to the new vehicle, she'd have to say goodbye to the lovely Cross 4 she was currently driving. That was a bit of a bummer, unless the new car is way better. They hadn't been together for very long, but this car had served her well. It was a pity she didn't have the time to give him a courtesy run through the car wash. Sorry about that. Thanks for everything. Tapping her fingers fondly on the steering wheel, Amine made sure to express her gratitude as well as her regrets. Not long after passing the local train station, the shopping center garage brain Space Marine came into view. Approaching the parking garage, Amine poked her car's nose up to the gate, rolled down her window, and grabbed a ticket from the machine. Once inside, she guided the Cross 4 up the spiraling slope, ignoring the grinding of the mechanical LSD. LSD! And after reaching the 5th level, she pulled it neatly into the first available space. I like how they make. She left the car there, brain, with the key in the ignition. Someone had been hired to take it back to the rental company. Felt a bit awkward to just abandon it. But right now, her top priority was finding the parking spot marked number 12. Alright. Hopefully I can find it easily. Presumably, the new car had also been left unlocked for her. She was a bit nervous someone might have stolen it. I feel like Kazuki or something would have stopped that from happening. Also, most people don't even realize cars are unlocked, so it's not like, yeah. The spot Amine had parked in was number 28. After orienting herself, she headed down toward the lower numbers. Ooh. As she walked past number 25 and number 24, the Thanatos phone in her pocket suddenly began to vibrate. When Amine retrieved her phone from her pocket, she found a message reading, "Registered vehicle within 20 meters." On the screen, with a button below it marked "Identify." Oh. That's some fancy shit. Couldn't hurt to give it a try, right? Oh my god. When she tapped the button, something nearby let out a cutesy little beep beep. Beep beep. Looking in the direction of the sound, she noticed a vehicle about 20 meters away that was flashing its hazard lights to inform her of its location. Now I'm scared. Thanatos had described it as light, fast, and easy to drive. To be sure, this met all those criteria. Nonetheless, the vehicle sitting demurely in spot number 12 was basically the last thing Amine had expected to find here. Uh-oh. What's so special about this thing? Walking up to her new ride, Amine began a more thorough inspection. First, she circled all around it and observed it from multiple angles. After a bit of prodding, tapping, and pushing at the frame, she squatted down to get a better look at the tires. At the very least, this wasn't a standard model. I didn't think it would be standard anything. That much was clear enough, but she couldn't help feeling more than a little let down. In fact, her current emotions were perhaps best expressed by the phrase, "What the heck, man?" I'd rather say hell, because hell sounds way cooler than heck. Still, there wasn't much point in complaining. No matter what kind of car she was given, Amine's job was to drive it according to her orders. Sliding into the driver's seat, she breathed in a lungful of that old new car smell. I like that smell. That's why it's an air freshener. And brought her hands to the wheel. For some reason, it felt as comfortable as slipping her feet into a familiar pair of shoes. Huh. With a twist of the key already sitting in the ignition, she tried starting the car. For a momentary pause, it rumbled to life. From the sounds of things, it had a high compression engine. The grumbling, grouchy sound it emitted while idling was a bit of like a growl of a lion. To Amne's ears, it suggested a certain fierceness. She didn't trust aftermarket temperature gauges, but they were good enough for rough estimates. Watching as the needle rose slowly up toward 65 degrees, she gently shifted into first gear and released the clutch. There was more torque in the low gears than she'd expected. It might have increased the engine's displacement. As she slowly eased the car forward, all the displeasure she'd felt only moments before melted away in that instant. God damn. And in its place, excitement bubbled up irrepressibly within her. It was immediately obvious this really was a special vehicle. Struggling with the temptation to find some place where she could play around with her shiny new toy, Amne turned the wheel and set off toward her rendezvous with Michiru. Dude, I want to see it. I want to see it. Uh-oh, it's Sachi. So what we gonna... Sachi's like really the last one we need to check up on, other than Yumiko, but Yumiko's back at base. Like, you know, so I guess we'll save this for next time on the next exciting episode of fucking saving Yuji. I mean, the operation's not actually happening yet. That's later. This is all the super prep that we're doing to save him, and hopefully everything goes horribly right, or you know, shit's gonna go down. We already know, but excited nonetheless, or exciting nonetheless. I mean, I'm excited too, but brain, why do you not work?